Monday evening, we take you back where the action happened.
We cheer up your Monday blues.
Our cameras rove all week to cover the latest in the enormous showbiz scene.
We show you what you missed even if you were present.
Grapevine gives 100% support to the local entertainment content.
From celebrity buzz,
Music,
fashion,
and all manner of entertainment and youth talent.
Watch Grapevine every Monday at 10 p.m.
Remember what they say, if you did not see it on Grapevine, then it most probably
never happened.
What you gotta do.
To having witnessed or participated in many medically related fundraisers, we seek to find out just how many Kenyans have felt the pinch of the high cost of medical attention in Kenya.
As much as we are talking about health care being one of the big four agenda, ni Wakenya wengi sana wa access hizi dawa, wa access matibabu, na wako tu ukitembea mitaani unapata ni wagonjwa, wengine TB, hata hizi coronavirus. The president should come to the rescue, make sure that health care is affordable to many Kenyans who are living with things like cancer, tupate pahali pa kufanyia vitu kama check up, vitu kama Kenya wengi sana ni wango. 80% of Kenyans wanakoa. President afanye maneno basi.
Sisi hata ukienda hospitali unaweza fika huko unapata unaandikiwa madawa uende kwa chemist nje. So hapo hata pia Uhuru anafaa angalie upande wa wananchi. Pia tuangalie anaangalia hiyo masirai ya hospitali.
In order to now equalize both the standards, the high and the low standards of people, I think they should provide affordable accesses to the healthcare and stuff.
Kenya wanafanya ni kulevelize tu hizo at least kuwe better. Tuseme kama ni consultancy, watry kuloa hizo services. At least hadi mwananchi wa kawaida siku yetu akienda kwa chemist anabai dawa. Because anajua akienda hosi treatment itakuwa poa yet ni expensive.
Currently, the government is doing something about that because tunajua about universal health cover, which in some counties like Nyeri, washaanza kuitumia, and of course tunajua about free maternity health. But I think there's more that the government should do. Wanafaa si wapay to certain counties kwa sababu pengine someone in Nyeri would afford the health care there, but maybe they wouldn't need the cover. So I feel wanafaa like wa give the cover to much more counties.
Kitu ya kwanza wanafaa wa make sure madrugs zinakuwa at all centers za clinic, yani nikienda kwa clinic yenye iko Kibera, nikienda kwa clinic yenye iko hapa Lang'ata, nafaa kupata the same type of drugs na cheki. Such a way that kama mimi naishi ghetto, nikienda kutafuta drug fulani kwa clinic naweza access. So wanafaa tu yani wa equalize resources zote in such a way the common raia anaweza zi access rahisi.
Kwa hospitali mimbi unapata hakuna madawa. Kama ni x-ray unataka kupigwa x-ray, unaweza hata uende x-ray ni ya emergency, lakini unaenda unapatiwa appointment ya kurudi. Lakini sana sana unaona kama ni hawa wenye wanasimamia mambo ya afya kwa hiyo hospitali, unapata hata honga wanapokea kwa raia. So ukimwona kando, hata hiyo appointment utapatiwa haraka na hiyo x-ray itakuwa kwa hiyo hospitali. Mi kwa maoni yangu naona hivi, kama ni mambo ya health irudishwe kwa national government.
Today the economy of Kenya in terms of health has actually gone very high as expected in some 30 years ago. Why? Because the government of Kenya does not even believe on themselves. If somebody is sick today, this guy will be transferred to maybe London or China for proper health care. Why can't this government of Kenya actually improve the social amenities like health, hospitals, good hospitals, so that this huge amount of money that you are wasting to take to China or wherever, that we can just do it within Kenya and everybody should actually get proper health care.
Welcome back to the program, and thank you so much for being a part of Good Morning Kenya this far. My name is Samuel Njoroge. It's Monday. It's Eye on Politics. We need to delve into the political issues in the country as of now. And right now, I'd like us to look at still devolution, but engage the voice of the County Assemblies Forum. And now joining us to do that, or to help us do that, is Honorable Florence Mwangangi. She is the Speaker, Machakos County Assembly, as well as Deputy Chair of the County Assembly Forum. Honorable Florence, thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to the program. Maybe we can start by you telling us what the role or the stand of the County Assemblies Forum has been when it comes to the disbursement of funds and the stalemate therein.
Thank you very much, Sami, for introduction. As you have indicated, I'm Florence Mwangangi. I am the Speaker, Machakos County Assembly, and also the Deputy Chairperson of the County Assemblies Forum. The County Assemblies Forum, on the issue of the disbursement of funds, the impasse that has been experienced, has tried to make discussions to engage the senators in our individual capacities, because we haven't as yet approached them as a forum. Because as long as that matter is not resolved, then you can see the problem that we are plunging the country into. So what we've been doing is to engage the senators on individual basis and asking possibly if they could sit and reason together. And we appreciate the weight of this matter on the Senate, because you see the competing interests. But our position has been, let us put the interest of Kenya before any other interest.
However, the country, this kind of crisis dates back to the year 2013, during the inception of devolution. What have you been able to do, proactively speaking, to, protect the nation from going through such a crisis?
Sami, you tend to be breaking. I'm not sure whether it is your connection, which is unstable, or mine. But if you could repeat the question, because from the beginning I didn't hear what the question was.
Well, the question is, Honorable Florence, as a forum, as a body, what are you doing, proactively speaking, to protect Kenya from going through this kind of a crisis year in, year out?
Now, obviously, what we are doing as a forum is it can only be through discussions and forums. And again, there has been attempts also. If you look at the BBI, process, there was a proposal on the trying to resolve the issues of this division of revenue, so that we don't have this problem coming year in, year out. So that is one process that the CAF has been able to engage in, and we took it very positively, because we saw some proposals that are likely to resolve this matter, finally. And that is making the ward as the unit of development, where the proposal was to put at least 35% of the county funds, development funds, into wards, so that at least we make sure that even if we have an issue now at the national level on division of revenue, then the wards are taken care of. But then again, we also proposed, to give the county governments at least 45% of the national revenue, so that again, when it comes to the county governments, then it is able to do the work that it was intended to do as per devolution in the constitution. So other than the legal processes and promises, and also, thinking of amending the laws and including the constitution, there are also dialogue that go on, of course, informally, so that then we do not keep on coming into these problems year in, year out, as you're putting it, Sami.
Right. And moving on to another question around welfare of MCAs, most of them advocating for a ward fund because they feel development cannot happen in their areas without the blessing of the governors. How have you been able to address this issue this far?
Right. At the moment, we are engaging the National Assembly on the Ward Equalization Fund. It came up for second reading just last week, I think on Thursday. And CAF has come up with a memorandum, a very concise and elaborate memorandum. And on the whole, we are in agreement with the proposal that has come up from the Senate. Remember, this is a bill that originated in 2018, and Senate has already passed it. And the input of CAF is in a manner that is strengthening the proposals given by the Senate. The other issue that I would want to address is through that memorandum, so that at least when you get the funds to the wards, the governor will have no choice, because it is a law.
Mm-hmm.
He will have to do equitable development, so that each ward is getting its size or its share of the development fund that is given to each county. In that manner, then we are going to have equitable development in the whole county, and as a result, in the whole country.
What of the relationship between MCAs and governors? What is your body doing to improve the state of affairs therein?
I'm not sure, Sami, the state of affairs you're referring to, because it is very fluid throughout the country. What you find in one region is totally different from what you find in another region, but maybe on average, the relationship ought to be that of collaboration, but at the same time, oversight should never be compromised on the table of collaboration. The collaboration I'm talking about is where the members of the county assemblies will pass laws and policies objectively, not on any considerations political, but only for the interest of the people. But then you find that at times that is not the case, that the perception that the governors and the MCAs are fighting, there's a lot of mistrust, there's a lot of name calling, there's a lot of attempts to weaken one side by the other, and that is not what ought to be the case. What we want to have on the ground is assemblies that are strengthened, that are an institution unto themselves, and that are doing oversight properly. And then on the other hand, governors that are executing whatever budget they are given. Because if you look at budgeting process, it is itemized. It is also program-based, and that is the law under the Public Finance Management Act. So if a governor is given an itemized budget and he is given the funds that is the assembly has approved, there's no reason why that budget should not be implemented to the letter. And so you find that many times differences and quarrels will come when that is not done.
Mm-hmm. We can see sittings in various assemblies and even in the National Assembly right here in Nairobi being postponed because of COVID-19. And there is talk about developing protocol during this particular time. What is CAF simulation of that kind of a protocol?
I have lost you again, Sami. I had parts of the question,
Okay,
and I would kindly ask.
the question is, what is
Thank you
CAF
for
doing to develop a proper COVID-19 protocol that will guide county assembly proceedings?
Thank you very much. Now I've heard you loud and clear.
Thank you.
What CAF is doing, this is part of the process that CAF has undertaken to address COVID-19 through the representatives of the public that sit in the county assemblies. We have partnered with UNDP and also UNICEF, and UNDP has sponsored programs like this one where we have members of the county assemblies at different regions appearing on TV, appearing on radio stations, the local FM stations, and then also other forums where we address the public. Most of the times you find that the MCAs will even address their members in languages that they understand, so that they are able to follow the protocols that have been laid out to, curb the spread of the COVID-19. And then the other processes that CAF has undertaken with the development partners is to seek for assistance, like by way of provision of masks, by way of provision of sanitizers, which has been coming, though in little numbers, but very appreciated. And these have been supplied to the members of the assemblies so that they can also end up supplying to their people back at home.
Mm-hmm. And from a monitoring point of view, maybe, I would ask you to name names. I'll just ask you whether you have data or statistics of MCAs who could have been affected or infected by or with COVID-19.
Honestly speaking, at the moment, personally, I don't have the data. In my assembly, I do not have. The only issue that we heard publicly of a positive case was in Nyandarua, and that was the staff of the county assembly, and you're aware that that assembly closed down. We haven't got reports of others, and I believe the problem is that there hasn't been mass testing. We would want to see a situation where we have MCAs in an assembly being tested as well as the staff, and then that way we'll be able to give now the data or the statistics that would speak as to how far that pandemic may have spread in the counties, particularly county assemblies.
Maybe we can get closer home, Machakos County, and share with us some of the protocols you have embraced to guide proceedings within the County Assembly of Machakos.
Thank you very much. In Machakos County Assembly, for one, when the president issued the executive order sometimes back in March, and following the directives of the Ministry of Health, we strictly started implementing the public health protocols on COVID-19. In the assembly, we have washing stations at almost every entry. We have hand sanitizers in almost every room and every entrance into a room. And then again, we have been providing masks to our members of the assemblies, and we ask them to put them on. I have mine with, I had to remove it because I am talking with you, Sami. So we have also been asking the members to keep the distance, that is at least 1.5 meters. In fact, we closed our cafeteria. Ordinarily, we have our cafeteria where we serve our members and staff with tea and lunch. But we had to close it because we're just not sure how well we can, deal with the issue of handling food, although we have sent the staff there for testing. And then we also devised a system where our chamber, because it is small, we accommodate only 26 members, observing the 1.5, at least 1.5 meter spacing from one member to another. And then the rest of the members sit in an extended seating, which is provided for outside in the tent. And again, the same protocols are observed. And then we link the members who are sitting in the assembly with those who are sitting in the chamber through our assembly broadcasting unit, so that anything that is happening inside the chamber is also being followed by members who are sitting in the tent, and they're also able to contribute from where they are sitting in the tent. Now, we also stopped having many plenary sittings. We sit only on special occasions because we have to continue passing laws. We have to continue passing policies. We have to continue doing oversight. And so our sittings are limited. For committee meetings, we do them online, like, a platform like this one of Zoom that we're using, so that it's only when the members are to write a report, to put their thinking or their discussions together, that they meet physically and still observing the social distance and the other protocols.
All right, Honorable Florence Mwangangi, thank you so much for your time, and we wish you all the best in both your present and future endeavors. So that has been Honorable Florence Mwangangi, who is the Speaker, Machakos County Assembly, as well as the Deputy Chair of the County Assemblies of Forum. Thank you so much for watching. That is the Political Watch in the country this far, but the show is not yet done. Jane Wamboi is coming in next with Family Check. Jane?
All right, so from matters to do with politics, we close that chapter and now focus on matters concerning family. Now, today we're going to be talking about a particularly sensitive issue, and this is all about rape and teen pregnancies. Now, during this time that we are in this pandemic, there has been a notable increase in the number of cases that have been reported either to do with sexual assault, rape, and consequently teen pregnancies. But before we get into this discussion, have a look at this.
A tearful Susan Nafula narrates the day her 12-year-old son went missing last year on 19th March.
Nilizunguka alafu nikirudi nyumbani napata main gate imefungwa. Watu wamenifungia mlango. Kisha nikafanya hivi, nikalala hapo nje mpaka asubuhi. Nilifika asubuhi saa kumi hivi nikaondoka tena nikaanza kuzunguka peke yangu. Sikuona mtoto wangu.
On 20th, her son Liam, not his real name, would return back home in a confused state.
Saa moja ikafika tuko hapa. Nikaona mtoto wangu yatokezea na hii barabara huko. Amevaa shati kubwa na hiyo shati iko na damu. Kisha ndio mtoto asistangu akaniambia, unaongea na wewe umemuona vile alivyo huyu mtoto anakakuchoka choka hivi wewe unamuona? Nikamwambia sijamuona. Nikamwambia kuangalia miguu zake zimepigwa. Amepigwa miguu mpaka zimebambuka huko.
The state of her son's mental and physical health left Susan disturbed, who resulted to seeking the support of neighbors to help identify the person who meted such grievous harm to her son.
Tulimshika huyo mtu tukamtoa nje. Ile tulimtoa nje ile wakati tumpige, familia yake ilikuja tayari na kutunyakua kwenye mkono na kumregesha ndani na kumfungia. Wakasimama mlangoni sasa. Mimi na mtoto wangu tuko hapa.
After the arrest, Nafula was issued with an OB number, with her son referred to the Coast Provincial General Hospital for medical examination, where it emerged that Liam had indeed been sodomized and tortured.
Mtoto akaanza kutibiwa, sasa kupewa matibabu. Kaenda kaangaliwa vile bila alifanya, akapatikana aliingizwa kijiti huku nyuma. Na vile alikuwa amechomeka, yani mwili umechomwa. Akatibiwa, tukaenda mpaka kwa wale watu wa HIV kule, pia kaenda huko tukapatiwa madawa za HIV. Mtoto akachukuliwa kapelekwa Viria Town. Akasema mtoto achukuliwa pelekwe kule kwa watoto mali alida kanziwe, maana mtoto alikuwa yuko sawa. alikuwa hajielewi kabisa, hata ukimuuliza kitu haongei, vitu zingine anaongea kingine.
The matter will go to the courts with the suspect released on a 60,000 shillings bond. The family worried that the suspect out on bond, he could easily interfere with the case, besides the possibility of repeating the same act on other victims.
Sasa mimi naomba tu jamani, serikali kama inasikia, nisaidie kwa mtoto wangu. Mtoto wangu alidhulumiwa.
About 3 kilometers away, we find a 13-year-old girl who is a mother to a 3-week-old baby. Saida, not her real name, was impregnated by her neighbor. The state of affairs have left Saida's mother devastated, angered that a grown-up man could lure her young daughter and impregnate her.
Nikachukua jukumu la kumpeleka kituo cha polisi, ndo kwenda chukua usaidizi huo, ndo akaongea huko kwa mimi niko na mimba. Mimba hii ni ya nani? Akasema ni ya jirani yetu, ambao ni kama hapa nilipo, nyumba yake niniangalia. Sasa mimi nilisikia uchungu sana.
The culprit was arrested and released on a cash bail and is roaming the streets a free man. The fear that the suspect could harm her daughter or prey on other minors, leaving her with sleepless nights.
Mtoto wangu anapitia mambo magumu, hata mimi mwenyewe bado sijayaona. Nilisikia hukumu sana. Naomba serikali basi tusaidie, maana hatuna uwezo.
Elizabeth Kadzo, a teacher and a trained child protection officer, saying the cycle of sexual abuse against children in Kisauni constituency and especially Utange area is a cause of concern.
Tuna kipindi kigumu, watoto wako nyumbani, lakini watoto wengi wa kike wamejifungua, wengine ni wajawazito. Hizi hali zimekithiri sana hapa, na tunaona kuna mahali tunahitaji kuna kuingiliwa kati.
Kadzo urging parents to be more vigilant with their children, especially now that schooling has been suspended as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Zawadi is among thousands of teenage mothers in this country. The culprits continue to walk scot-free, with their parents seeking justice from the judiciary. For Channel 1 News from Mombasa County, I am Anburu.
And those are the sad realities of some of our young girls who are going through such situations after having experienced sexual assault of one form or the other and consequently ending up in pregnancy. But to help us with this discussion, we are joined right now by Catherine Carrera, who is a counselor, to help us better understand the scope in which these teen pregnancies do affect these young girls. Karibu sana, Catherine. Good morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Jane Waboy. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for making time to be with us this morning. Now, let's just start by, just looking at that clip that we have seen over there. Teen pregnancy seems to be a very misunderstood issue when it comes to some of the topics that we tend to talk about in a home setup. Why do you think this is so?
Okay, what is happening is that I don't know what is actually happening to the man who's supposed to be the protector. The man is supposed to take care of the children, both boys and girls.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the protector, the provider has become the killer, the eater, the spoiler, the waster. And because we must live together with the man, we must now educate our children how to be very, very alert. Also to be very resistant so that they don't fall prey. Unfortunately, parents do not talk about it. Neither does the church talk about it. So we see the person that has been defiled is the one that bears the blame. When the man that did it is out there walking and feeling nice and touching on more other people. So what everybody needs to do is give our children 3 things. Number 1, we must inform our children that we are living in a very hostile, unfriendly environment where even the father, the brothers, the uncle, the grandmothers are becoming spoilers. Then we must warn our children. And then we must give them the fact on the ground that the girl, the boy child is not safe anywhere, including the home where they're supposed to get a lot of security. So as our children grow, we must make sure that they grow with knowledge. We say in English, to be informed is to be transformed. To be uninformed is to be deformed. We must all arise and give information, and sexual development should not be settled at the family level. It could take 5 minutes to mess a child's destiny forever. So we must speak and speak out forthright. Then we must encourage anyone that is living at that defilement to come out, to speak out. And it's so unfortunate that the mothers may be knowing about it, but they want to save the husband or the relatives. We must all wake up and expose the problem that we have, because our sons and our daughters are the only future we have. And we are their future and their hope for today and the future. So we must speak.
Okay. Now, Catherine, you have rightly put it that, some of these perpetrators that are, committing these heinous crimes are people who are within our close proximities to these young girls. And in some cases, we have seen fathers and close relatives actually being the perpetrators. Now, how then do we get these young girls to get to a position where they can be able to talk about these issues, if it has happened to them, in a safe environment where they don't feel threatened? Because, at the end of the day, one of them might be fearing, maybe this is my father. If I report, I might get into trouble, or things might worsen for me.
Okay, Jane, what we need to do, we need to group these children into two.
Yes.
There are those that are already defiled. There are those that are not defiled, and we must protect the innocence of the innocent. Then we must tell the ones that are going through defilement, whether it is mother, whether it is father, uncle, or brother, it is a crime. And we must encourage them to come out and speak openly.
Okay.
Then we must also talk to our sons, our fathers, our uncles, that it is wrong and is not right at all. Jane, allow me to say this: anybody that cannot control their libido is like an animal. So we must tell the sons and the brothers and anybody out there, they must tame themselves.
They must tame themselves. Okay.
They must tame themselves.
Now, you have said that we first need to group these children into two categories, those that have actually gone through some of these offenses and those that haven't. Now, let's look at this category that have gone through some of these offenses, and specifically looking at the role of the parents in this situation. Now, let's start, for example, a young girl might have been defiled by a father or an uncle or a brother or a cousin, whoever it may be. Now, looking at the other parent, their responsibility to seek medical attention for these young girls. We have seen so many cases where most of them shy away from seeking medical attention for these girls due to stigmatization that comes along with this. What would you say to this category?
What needs to be done? We should not tolerate sin or crime. Actually, if you tolerate crime or sin, you are also an accomplisher of the same. What we need to know is that this girl has scars, and she has two types of scars. She has the physical one that we are seeing, and the one that we are not seeing, and the scars that we don't see, Jane, take longer to heal. So we must tell the girl she has to raise her voice. If mother does not want to help her, there must be a social worker or the pastors in the community. There must be somebody of well-wisher that can reach out and help this child. So we must make sure that the child does not live in condemnation. Jane, a home should where we give our children grace, not guiltiness. So when the girl comes and says it is daddy, and the children, by the way, they don't lie about sexual development. And sexual development is not only rape. The others that are touched in very inappropriate manner. The others that are already being lured by causing them to watch pornography. They are introducing it to our children so that our children can start admiring pornography. And what we know in life is that what we admire, we imitate. So we must tell them and expose it before it even matures or grows up.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, let's also look at another issue that still is in this bracket, and it's not talked about as much, but in recent time we have been seeing an increase in this, and this has to do with child marriages. It is still a prevalent issue, especially in marginalized areas, and consequently we find children who do not give consent to be involved in such acts. How do we protect the children in this category?
What we need to do, Jane, is educate the mothers, and let the mothers know that a child's body could be big on the outside, but the inside of the child is not grown. Their sexual organs and the uterus is very small. So what we need to do, we must come out from that, let me call it stupidity of imagining that a gun is an item to be sold into the market. We all must come out and say no. And let me talk to the leaders that have a bigger voice than myself. They must be speaking. Wasewa Nyubakumi on the ground, they must all be speaking. All of us must take all our energy to make sure that this girl reaches her destiny. We must protect as we provide for the girl.
All right. Now, another issue that still proves to be a problem for many families that we have found, there was actually a case sometime last year where a mother actually traded her daughter for marriage just to be able to feed the others, and this consequently led to sexual assault on this young girl. When it comes to transactional relationships involving these young girls, and especially where the parents know what is going on, what action do you think can be taken against the parents who are actually allowing this situation to go on and to be able to protect these young girls on the other hand?
Okay, Jane, thank you. Let me answer it from a little bit far.
Okay.
When the devil, who is Satan, wants to ruin a generation, he makes everybody treat sexual sin casually. And what we treat casually makes us a casualty. A minor has their rights. And it's unfortunate that the mother can collude to marry off a daughter in pretense to get money. It is wrong. Again, we need to go back to the early 70s, where a child was raised by the whole community. We all now must go back there and know this child is our future as Kenya, and we protect them all through. The mother, because she's not a minor, should be locked up somewhere and stay there. Yes.
All right. Now, looking at the post period after our young girls may have gone through this situation, the role of counseling in this situation, how important is it to just make sure that if a girl has actually experienced any form of sexual assault, they are offered some sense of counseling and guidance to help them get back to where they were before prior to all this situation?
Okay, Jen, let me say what we first need to do. We must break the taboo. People think talking about sex is bad. It is not bad. We are all created and we are all born through sex. However, very many people are wasting and getting wasted through sex. So we must encourage sex talks. And we cannot talk about sex without the Bible. That is why I'm holding the Bible, because sex was created by the God of the Bible. And if God talks about sex, you and myself, we must talk about sex. Then we must bring in the counseling now. And the counselor must have empathy and sympathize and feel together with the girl, so that we don't go and condemn the girl who is now a victim and already broken and crushed. We must be the counselors that are going to show this girl it was wrong, it happened to you, then we help them to heal. So that when they heal now, we can raise them up as a torch for others that are going through it. And I would want to encourage most of those that have gone through it to come out and speak out and say, yes, it happened to me, but now I am able to start, and it's a problem that we are living in, but we don't have to become a victim of it forever. We must minister healing.
All right. Now, you have mentioned that, still speaking about matters concerning, or rather revolving around sex, still remain to be a taboo, and of course for cultural reasons. And, it's not an issue that we can, do away with in a day. It will take time. But how then do we now get this information to our young girls and boys for that matter, and more especially using a school-based approach for young children who, parents shy away from talking about these issues? How do we employ the school-based approach?
Excellent, Jane. Let me actually take you back to the Bible. The word of God tells me in Song of Songs 8:8 that we have a young sister and her breasts are still small. What shall we do for her when the man comes courting to her? So even when this girl is so small and her breasts are still not grown, people are coming to talk. So now we must be able to talk earlier. What is not known normally has a pull thing to it. We must now demystify the myth in sex so that our children do not become a victim of it. The schools, the church must talk about it. And the only way we can talk about it, because this is created by God, we have only to talk about it the God way. And the God way says sex is for those that are married. And we see that our teenagers, our preteens are doing it not because they know what they are doing it, but because they think it's a child play game. It is not. We must inform them. We say in good English, a forearmed person is already a warned person. We tell them before they get there. Jane, allow me to tell you this. If we cannot talk to grade 2 children about sex, we cannot talk to the preteens about sex. We must grow talking about it, because that is what is affecting our children. Like now, we are all locked up by coronavirus. Let me tell our teenagers that HIV and AIDS is not fearing corona. I go to speak in schools and I hear grade 2 do a poem ya kwamba ukimwi ni mnyama, sio mnyama. We have now to tell it as it is, Jane.
So would you say the way we talk to our young children about issues to do with their sexuality could be a problem because we don't use the actual, words that we refer to certain body parts? We tend to use some, friendly words that don't seem as realistic as they should be. Is the way we talk to our children about their sexuality and their bodies also a problem?
Jane, I don't even think whether people are talking about it.
Okay.
I don't think they're talking about it, but now we must talk about it. To give it simpler terms, I normally tell the grade 2 children they have private money, so that now they can understand I have private manenos. Private manenos should not be touched by anyone. We must talk and talk the truth about it. Otherwise, we are going to lose a whole generation.
Okay, and also still speaking about it, passing information to our young girls. Now, this has been subject to so much debate, and this is all about contraception. At what age do you think we need to start talking to our young girls about contraception to ultimately prevent early pregnancies?
Thank you. Jane, my passion in life is to make our children know before they wish they knew.
Okay.
And sex is not for children. When we abuse anything, we become the victims of it. I said earlier, when Satan wants to mess with a generation, he makes everybody treat sex casually, and we become a casualty. Allow me to say, contraceptive is not a solution to immorality, and we cannot give our children contraceptives. They're not married. They're not in wedlock. What our children need to do is tame themselves, or they bear the blame. Allow me to say, nobody ever dies for not having sex. But every day, people are dying because they had sex. Where I come from, we have a saying, feelings are not a pain. So we must tell them to abstain. Abstinence works. Contraceptive is not a solution to immorality. And we cannot mess our today to protect our tomorrow. We give these children contraceptives today, they'll be exposed to HPV. We all know human papillomavirus is what causes cervical cancer. And when our girls start doing sex at preteen and teenagers, that virus start working on them, and that is why we have an increase of cervical cancer. What am I talking about? We must tell them to tell themselves feelings are not a pain. Jane, let me tell every teenager that is out there that the trouble with trouble is a trouble start as fun leading to a funeral. So they must tell themselves, we must advocate for abstinence.
We must advocate for abstinence.
Abstinence, Jane.
Feelings will not kill them at the end of the day.
They don't kill. Let me say, even the boys will never bust.
All right, now let's quickly move on to another issue, and this is all about understanding the law. Now, we find many situations, and especially situations where the perpetrator who has defiled a young girl, an underage girl, is within the family setup. We say it could be a father, an uncle, a brother, or a cousin, whoever it may be. And you find in most cases, such cases are just swept under the carpet, and these young girls are forced into reproductive coercion, where they are forced to stay silent, and they ultimately do not get the justice that they so deserve. How do we enlighten our young girls when it comes to understanding the law and what it says about such situation? Reproductive coercion.
We know the girl is a minor, Jane, and she's under the care of mother. So we must talk to the girl and talk to the mother. Remember, I said private manenos. We must now encourage the girl and come up with a support system. If mama is not listening to me, who else can I fall back to? Can I fall back to a Sunday school teacher? Can I fall back to Msee wa Nyumbakumi? And then we must know that God is watching us. So mama, you must wake up from this stupidity that I want to protect my husband or my son. There's no life that is bigger than the other. The girl has been meshed. So we must now tell the children from lower grade that private manenos can cause somebody to go to court. There are two words here, rape and defilement. And they must be reported as soon as it is happening now. And anybody who gets defiled should not even rush back to shower. They should go and report as soon as today. Actually, the best way to communicate is how we have been told to wash our hands by corona. We must say it again and again as often as possible, that they should not keep quiet. I say the victim has two scars, the emotional one, the physical one, and the emotional one that you don't see take longer to heal. So we must tell them to speak and speak and speak loudest.
All right. Now, at this point, I'd like for you to just speak to the community when it comes to victimization, because many a times we find, matters, any conversation revolving around sex as a taboo, and consequently, our young girls who may have undergone any of these offenses have become victimized because of such, and some are even blamed. We find the victim blaming in some situations. Speak to the community when it comes to just doing away with the stigmatization that comes along with, any sexual offense that may have been committed to a young girl.
Thank you, Jane. Before I speak to the community, let me speak to the girl that is pregnant now. And I tell her that pregnancy is not the end of life. Pregnancy is the beginning of life. If there was no COVID, you'd be almost closing for August holidays. So I encourage you, girl, to give birth, go back to school. You have a path of success ahead of you. Stigmatization is a very bad crime. And I said we must now have ambassadors, people that have gone through it and they're walking now, standing tall to speak. And we must now break that stigma of victimizing the girl that has been molested. We must be able to give her a lot of grace, not a lot of guilty. It was not her problem, it happened to her. So we must now change our perspective and fight the criminal who is out there defiling other girls. We must speak at all levels. Again, Msee wa Nyumbakumi usirare. God will ask you what you're doing, and you have the power to speak in your area of Nyumbakumi.
All right. Now, as we draw the conversation to a close, maybe briefly, just during this time that we are all locked up in our homes, we have seen cases of defilement still go on a constant rise. How then would we just make this time safe for our young girls as we study at home, as we spend so much time at home, cooked up with everyone in the house? How do we make this time safe for our young girls and our young boys as well to do away with cases of defilement?
This corona period has given our children three things in plenty. It has given them a lot of time, and free time causes a lot of idleness, and idleness shows us how to make trouble. The other one is some of them are privileged. They have technology in plenty, and technology can be a tool or can be a weapon. The other one they have is a lot of foolishness. So what I want to tell every teenager out there, that boredom does not kill, but what you do when you're bored can kill you. And if you could write the word bored, go down. We start with a B, where we say, be very creative. This time, when you are at home, be very creative. Then get organized before you are disorganized. And as you're getting organized, before you're disorganized, be very alert, because uncle, daddy, grandfather, whoever you live with can also be an enemy appearing as friend. We have said, be creative, get organized before you are disorganized, then get ready for the future. God, you still have the future ahead of you. The E, exercise your soul and your mind, and those two are exercised by feeding on the word of God. Then the last one, which is D, do only that is necessary. So at home, what are we going to do? We must avoid the next E's. I call them 3 E's. Exploration. Girl, do not go to explore. The other one is exploitation. God, you're living in a very hostile environment, including in your home. 3, experimentation. Do not go experimenting with your body. In English, we say that anybody that breaks anything to find out what it's made of, they have departed from the way of wisdom. So what am I telling you, God, to do? I will refer you back the word of God, and I will say it in Kiswahili. Mithali 5:23 inasema mtu inasema atakufa huyo kwa kukosa maonyo, naye ataangamia kwa wingi wa ujinga wake. Kwa hivyo msichana, nimekanya wewe na nimekuambia kwamba the environment is very hostile. Let me tell you, girl, you must package yourself as a butterfly. The butterfly is very beautiful to watch, but very hard to be caught. Follow the butterfly. Be beautiful to be watched, but make it very hard for anybody, including daddy, including uncle, to touch you.
Okay. Now, also, I'd like for you to just talk to maybe county governments when it comes to setting up safe houses for these young girls who might not have that safe space in the home, and they do not have any other alternative but the county government to provide a safe house to which they can access any time that they need.
Jane, we have a lot of money in this country, and I want to challenge our leaders. Leadership is not only a title. Leadership is seeing a problem before it becomes an emergency and coming up with a solution. So we must have what we can call in Kiswahili Kiota. We must have nests for these children, and also we must channel money to speaking engagement where we can grow our children by the word. When we tell them how to protect themselves, they are not going to be an easier prey. We must encourage those talks. What we need to stop doing is PR with the lives of our children. Yes.
We need to stop doing PR with the lives of our children.
We must. We must.
All right. Now, also speaking to religious leaders, most of the time we don't dare to have these conversations in a church setup because, it is not considered godly or, it's not considered as a way of life. But the reality on the ground is absolutely different. Things are happening to our young girls in closed spaces, and, some might be finding these churches or places of worship as a safe space and where they can get this information.
It's unfortunate, Jane, that the church is keeping quiet. I'm actually now turning my Bible because you have mentioned church, and that is why I see it. Church, you have the word. I said earlier, and I quoted it from my heart. It says, we have a young sister, and her breasts are still small. What will we do for her when a man comes 40? Church, you are the hearts and the voice of God. And when you speak the word of God, God will back it up. Church, you must speak. And it is very good that children come in Sunday school before there was Corona. We must now stop telling them about Father Abraham only. We must bring the gospel here and today. What are the challenges our children are facing today? When we tell them about Mr. Noah build the ark, he's no longer building the ark. We must equip our children to be able to protect them today, here and now.
All right.
Let me say it in Kiswahili, joto ya leo ni majuto ya kesho.
All right.
If we don't tell our children about joto, sisi wote tutajuta na sisi wote tutalia.
Tutaungua sote. All right.
Yes.
Now, as we bring the conversation to a close, maybe what will be your closing remarks in regards to this whole conversation about, teen pregnancies and sexual offenses that are still on a constant rise, especially now during this COVID-19 pandemic that we are in?
Good, thank you, Jane. Let me tell every girl there that greetings should not ever go beyond the elbow, because the elbow is so close to these things. And when the man comes and touches you these things, you forget to focus. The other one I need to tell every girl out there and every boy is that boyfriend and girlfriend is not the password to life.
Mm-hmm.
You are already very normal. You don't need that. Then what I want to tell them is have a relationship. Do not have a romantic relationship. That romantic relationship is what making our girls get pregnant. And unfortunately, the boys, they don't become pregnant.
All right.
So the girl must do what I said earlier. Be the butterfly. Do not allow anybody to touch you because you are wired with feelings.
All right. Be the butterfly.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Catherine. That is Catherine Karita, who is the counselor, sharing with us her thoughts in regards to this whole conversation about parenting, rape, and teen pregnancies. Now, just before we get to close this conversation, just looking at some stats that were put up by World Vision, is that at least 70% of all teen pregnancies are not fathered by teenage boys. They are as a result of grown adult men. Over 50, and most of these, and also still looking at the number of teen pregnancies, rape constitutes a higher percent of teen pregnancies than consensual intercourse. Now, these are the sad realities. These are the sad numbers that we are witnessing in this day and time, and it has become worse during this pandemic that we are in. So we each have a role to play when it comes to protecting our young girls and help them live a better life to avoid this increase in the number of teen pregnancies that we have been seeing. Now, that brings us to a close of this discussion, but thank you so much for staying with us, for being part of this discussion. We want to put a cap on today's program, but remember, we will be back tomorrow with another fantastic edition of Good Morning Kenya. My name is Jane Wamboy, and on behalf of the entire GMK crew, we wish you a lovely day. God bless. See you tomorrow.
You may be in the pit. You do not see how you could get out. But the good news is that you do not have to get by yourself. The Most High God is about to lift you out. He's about to turn the medical report. He's about to free you. He's about to open new doors, bringing new opportunities, new relationships.
Kupata The Pit, bonyeza star 811 star 967 hash. Bonyeza star 811 star 967 hash.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Aunt, something horrible happened.
Don't scare me. What happened?
Jorge and Andrea found a tape where my parents named Juana as the insurance beneficiary, but now the tape is missing. I'm on the verge of losing my mind. I need to speak with you. Are you alone?
Juana, do you trust Julio?
Andrea entrusted it to me for safekeeping until we could bring it to Mr. Pedro. They're going to lose that money because of me. I feel awful.
In love with Ramon.
His physical frame was imposing, standing at 7 feet and an inch tall, weighing 147 kilograms. He was known as a Big Daddy, or Shaquille Rashawn O'Neal, a former American professional basketball player whose success story you're about to hear. After being drafted in the NBA in 1992 by the Orlando Magic to become the NBA Rookie of the Year a year later, after becoming the Player of the Year at the Louisiana State University, where he studied business.
Shaquille O'Neal is a larger-than-life personality, with his game of power and intimidation on the basketball court matched by no other. Heralded since he entered the league at 20 years of age, his career has been one of the most dominant and impressive of any player in NBA history. Time after time, he continues